Guys, and welcome back to the channel. You're watching Nwadei MMA, where I give you my thoughts, but more importantly, ask for you guys' thoughts because you guys are the MMA community. And today, we're going to be giving you the storyline of UFC 311, since it's such a stacked fucking card to start off the year. Well, it's not the first card of the year. We do have Mackenzie Dern versus Amanda Ribas, and that's going to be a good fight as well. But we're talking about big cards here. We're talking about pay-per-view. This is the first pay-per-view of the year. We just finished off with the Alexandre Pantoja pay-per-view against Kyle Sakura, and that was an amazing fight. A good card as well. But this is one for the hardcores. And if you're a casual watching this, or maybe you just started getting into UFC or MMA in general, I'm gonna explain to you everything that goes on coming into this card, right? The storylines behind each fight, the fights that are big, the fights that should be talked about or should be watched, and so on and so forth. So guys, thank you for stopping by my channel today. And also, I just wanted to let you guys know the reason I've not been super active in posting is because of this change to the scenery that you see right here. Yes, I'm going to be fighting on Fury 100, which is probably the biggest local card to ever been had. It is the biggest local card in the Houston area for sure, and so I'm super excited, and I've been preparing my ass off for it, and that's why I haven't been making too much content for you guys. That is on January 12th, so a week before UFC 311, which we're 9 days out from. So if you guys want to watch that, you'll be able to see it on UFC Fight Pass, so go ahead and check that one out. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the storyline of UFC 311. Okay, so as we know, guys, this card is headlined by Islam Makhachev and Arman Tsarukyan. That's a rematch, of course, and we're going to get into that. We're also going to get into the co-main of Merab and Umar, and there's so many great fights on the main card. But first, I'm going to go ahead and just go through the prelims, because this is a very stacked card. I mean, on the early prelims, we have Ricky Turcios versus Bernardo Sopaj, which is a good fight. Ricky Turcios obviously is the Ultimate Fighter winner. His last fight was against Raul Rosas, which didn't go his way, but he went into it with some injuries, and there's a whole little storyline there. He's coming back against a guy who's 11-3 and is an animal. The guy's a young, hungry killer, but he is coming off of a loss against Vinicius Oliveira, and so they're both coming off of a loss. He was knocked out. Ricky Turcios ended up getting choked out, but that's a good fight. Another one to watch is Aline Perez versus Carol Rosa. That's a good fight as well. Carol Rosa has been in the bantamweight division for a while, but Aline Perez, this is the girl who twerks over dead bodies, right? She's the one who has been going viral in the bantamweight division, been calling for a shot. She is a grappler, but she's shown that she could throw hands as well. So she's on a 4-fight win streak, and if she beats Carol Rosa, I think she'll probably be fighting top 10, top 5 in her next fight, and then be looking at that title. So that's a good fight. We have Carlos Diego Ferreira versus Grant Dawson. This is a battle of the grapplers. A lot of these matchups are going to be grappler versus grappler, which, if, like I said, you're a hardcore fan and you understand jiu-jitsu or wrestling, this is an exciting fight. But not only do they both grapple, they're both willing to sit there and throw down. And you know, when you get grappler versus grappler, a lot of times you get a striking match because neither of them want to fatigue themselves by trying to grapple the other person. And we've had some bangers by Diego Ferreira. And speaking of bangers, Grant Dawson is coming off of 2 wins, one by decision and then the other one by knockout against Rafa Garcia. So like I said, we could get a slugfest there. And then moving into the prelims, we have Zachary Reese versus Cedric Dumas. Both of those guys are strikers. Both of them are going to be looking for the knockout. This is where it gets real interesting. Yailton Almeida versus Sergey Spivak. Of course, both grapplers. Sergey Spivak is coming off of a first-round win against Marcin Tybura, who is also a grappler. Before that, he lost to Cyril Gane, but before that, he beat Derek Lewis in the first round. So he's trying to get over this hump of being, I don't want to say journeyman, but journeyman, and he's trying to really push into that contender spot. And if he beats Yailton Almeida, I mean, dude, you're 1 win away from a title shot at that point, right? Because Yailton Almeida was 1 win away from a title shot when he faced Curtis Blades Of course, Yaeltsin Almeida lost to Curtis Blades. After dominating him, he just got hit with a couple hammer fists while he was going in for a takedown, and that did the job from Curtis Blades. But before that, dude, he was on like a 5-fight win streak. He was finishing motherfuckers. He has insane grappling. I mean, I think I've done a breakdown of his grappling before, but I'll do another one if you guys want. Yaeltsin Almeida, he is one of these fighters that you're gonna have to watch in 2025. This year, because he's gonna be vying for a title shot, especially if he beats Sergey Spivak. That'll be 2 in a row for him. He just submitted Alexander Romanov in the first round, and it seems like he has his confidence back, and this will be another one that will potentially get his confidence back with a win. But if he's able to do that and submit him, especially with the weirdness of the heavyweight division right now, he can go quickly turn around, get a top 5 win, and be right there for the title shot next. So I don't know if they're gonna put him against a Cyril Gane. I think that is a very exciting matchup, or even an Alexander Volkov. I think both of those do an equal amount for him as far as getting into that title picture, because they just had that really close fight, which a lot of people thought went Volkov's way. But yeah, Yaeltsin Almeida is a big player, and I am favoring him to win that. So I am gonna be giving a couple of predictions, of course, as I do this storyline video. But moving forward with Peyton Talbot, he's going against Raoni Barcelos. Yes, like I said, this card is pretty stacked. We're still on the prelims here, but Peyton Talbot has been murking people, honestly. That's just, I don't even think he's been to decision. He's just been murdering people left and right since he's been an amateur. And he's in the bantamweight division, so we know how stacked that division is. And he's going against Raoni Barcelos, the same Raoni Barcelos that went against Umar Nurmagomedov. Umar fought Raoni Barcelos. He fought one other person on short notice, and then he fought Corey Sandhagen. So we know what kind of fight this is for Peyton Talbot, especially given the fact that Peyton Talbot's coming off the Contender Series. He has that Dana White favor a little bit because of that and because of how exciting he is. But he's also 2-0 outside of the Contender Series in the UFC, and he knocked out Cameron Simon, and then he also knocked out Yanis Gamore. Yanis Gamore was an okay win. He's been knocked out before, but Cameron Simon, that was a brutal win. And so now he's moving up to the Raoni Barcelos, which I believe is like a top 20 in the division. And if he could defeat Raoni Barcelos, I wouldn't be surprised if he's looking at a top 15 fight next, because of how his following is growing, because of how devastating he is. I mean, dude, the UFC loves finishes, and this guy finishes fights. Honestly, I can see, he doesn't talk shit. He doesn't talk much shit, but I can see him taking that like Cody Garbrandt or Conor McGregor route, to where he has 5 fights, most of them or all of them are finishes, and he gets a title shot. He's one of those characters. But yeah, I'm super excited for Peyton Talbot. That's definitely someone we got to keep our eye out on in 2025. This is someone who could be looking at a top 5 fight before the end of the year. But moving forward, Johnny Walker versus Bogdan Guskov. Now this is actually weird because it's in the light heavyweight division, but Bogdan Guskov and Johnny Walker know each other. I wouldn't say that they're necessarily friends, but Bogdan Guskov is like the best friend of Johnny Walker's brother, Walter Walker. So they train together all the time. They've trained together, I believe, Bogdan Guskov and Johnny Walker. And so it's a little weird. You know, the UFC likes making these matchups, but this is something they're going to talk about it, right? And this is the storyline of this fight. Johnny Walker is coming off 2 knockout losses in a row to Magomed Ankalaev and to Volkan Ozdemir. And to be honest, man, fuck. It's like Johnny Walker's skill set is very good, but when you touch his button, he wobbles up, and matter of fact, he doesn't really even wobble up. He kind of just goes out. And Bogdan Guskov is someone who just knocked out Ryan Spann and Zach Pouch. So it's like, this is who we put Johnny Walker against. You know, honestly, I might be favoring Bogdan Guskov just because he has a lot less damage than Johnny Walker. Johnny Walker's been getting knocked out since the local scene. I just think if Bogdan touches that chin, then it could be lights out. But that's goes for almost everyone in the light heavyweight division, right? So there's that fight, and then that's the last fight on the prelims before we get to the main card. And now, talking about the main card, we're gonna go top down. So we're gonna start with the main event. I mean, Islam Makhachev is fighting Arman Tsarukyan. This is a rematch, but the first fight was one that Islam Makhachev won, but it had some elements to where we could assume that even if they're the same fighters, this one could go differently. So each round was pretty close, but Islam was the clear winner for sure. Arman Tsarukyan took this one on like 2 weeks notice. This is his first fight in the UFC. Islam also took it on short notice, but he was already training in camp for it, so of course he was in the better shape, and it showed. He was getting less tired during all the wrestling exchanges, but as far as wrestling, it pretty much looked equal. As far as grappling, Islam looked like he had a little bit of the better grappling, and then as far as striking, it also pretty much looked even. They were two wrestlers just trying to wrestle each other. It was a fun fight. I mean, I think it won even fight of the night, but that kind of paints a picture, right? Now they're both much more evolved. They're both much more willing to strike. I mean, we just saw Islam Makhachev go toe-to-toe with Dustin Poirier, which I thought gave him a lot of respect from the fans, because everyone thought he was just a grappler. Oh, and then he was able to outstrike a overconfident Charles Oliveira. This man has legit boxing now. He has legit kickboxing. The dude is just good everywhere, and I think it's time that everyone just gives him that respect. He is good everywhere. If I'm comparing him to Arman Tsarukyan, honestly, I think he has the better striking, and I think he's just as strong and can work at that rate just like Islam. So as far as cardio, power, speed, I think all those go in Arman Tsarukyan's favor, except for maybe cardio, that's probably even. But on a technical aspect, I am choosing Islam Makhachev to win this fight. However, there is more than technique that goes into fighting, and when you're looking at that aspect of it, Arman Tsarukyan has been vying for this rematch for the longest time. I mean, this dude is so fucking angry that he jumped Bobby Green. He's just been angry this whole time, since 7 years ago when they fought the last time. This dude jumped Bobby Green, he punched a fan. He's an angry dude. Sometimes that doesn't serve you well. Sometimes you gas out in fights because you're angry, or sometimes it makes you prepare and train harder. And right now, the way he's looking in camp, man, he looks like he's been preparing for the fight of his life, which it will be. And so him having that confidence that, I mean, I think this is the first rematch that Islam Makhachev is even having, other than the Volk one on short notice, which we don't count here on this channel. But he's being the first person to really rematch Islam on a full camp this time. Dude, he's gonna have so much confidence going into this. And if you listen to Mike Tyson has a quote to where he says that confidence applied properly will supersede a genius, and they're both very confident, of course, but I think Arman he's right there. He's right there to where he might really believe enough in his skill set that he could upset Islam Makhachev. Like I said, on a skill for skill basis, I'm done doubting Islam. I still think that Charles has ways to beat him for sure, but as far as anyone else in that division, I'm not so sure. I think outside of Charles, the next person who might be able to beat him is a guy like Ilia Topuria. But this is not me overlooking Arman Tsarukyan. This is just me kind of speaking my mind. I still see Arman as a very dangerous matchup. I'm just choosing Islam to win. However, moving on to the co-main event, Merab Dvalishvili versus Umar Nurmagomedov. Now, we didn't know this one was going to happen. Everyone was like, Merab's avoiding Umar, and he kind of was. But at the same time, everything he's saying is kind of true. The whole thing about Umar disrespecting him, I don't care about any of that. Whatever. We're in the fight game. Deal with it. Get over it. As far as him talking about Umar not deserving it, after fighting Corey Sandhagen, you deserve it. If you beat Corey Sandhagen, you deserve it. Before that, did he have to go through Murderer's Row? No. But it's because nobody would take the fights. Can you really blame him for that? Yes, he had to win like 8 or 10 in a row before he even fucking got a title shot. That's ridiculous. And for him to wish that on Umar, it's only natural. I mean, I had a hard road. Why does this guy get an easy road when he's one of the toughest fights, right? He's being smart as a champion. He was wanting to take his time. But yes, he was avoiding him. However, now you can't really say that because he signed on the dotted line. He's gonna be fighting Umar. As far as how this one goes, I think Umar has more skills. I think Umar has less damage in his career. He hasn't been dropped. Or no, he's been dropped, actually. He got dropped a couple fights ago. But as far as the threat level from Merab, he is a fighter on the feet. Like, he's a brawler. He has good footwork on the outside. He throws a lot of shots that just miss, to be honest. So, like, a lot of his spin kicks and head kicks, they are just thrown to take up that space in front of you. While Umar, on the other hand, is pinpoint, precise striker. I was very impressed with the way he was able to actually outstrike Corey Sandhagen. Of course, that's after the wrestling, so there's a little bit of a difference there, but Umar is the better striker. I think that in wrestling, they're pretty close. I don't know who's better, honestly. I think maybe Merab actually might have better wrestling, but grappling, again, I give it to Umar. The thing with Merab is that he doesn't have a submission threat. I think he has maybe one submission in his entire career. He doesn't have many knockouts because, like I said, he misses a lot of shots. He doesn't really set things up. He throws things kind of haywire, and people will look at that and be like, man, how is this guy a UFC champion? But it's because he weaponizes his pace. As far as cardio, I think Merab is going to have the advantage over everyone in the division. I don't think it's necessarily a cardio thing. I think it's more of a mindset thing, which is why I think it won't look like he has the cardio advantage against Umar. I think they're going to be toe for toe in the wrestling exchanges. I think Merab is going to wrestle his ass off, though. I think that's how this fight's going to go. I think that's the only way he has to win. He's not going to outstrike Umar. He's not going to submit Umar. He can't finish him, so he has to wrestle him, get him into these catch wrestling positions and hold him there. Look to do damage, look to break him. And fuck, you're gonna break a Nurmagomedov? I don't think that's gonna happen. So I see Umar being able to defend a lot of his takedowns. Maybe he gets taken down a couple times. I think he gets back up. I think potentially getting back up and taking Merab's back is a very real situation that can happen. So I think that he could take Merab's back and potentially choke him out. I think like I said, he has better grappling. And when I say grappling, I mean jiu-jitsu. But I also think that they both like to fight from a range. When he's in there fighting on the inside, he takes a lot of risks, leaving his hands down and just swinging for the fences, which is dangerous and for Umar and for Merab. But the way I see this one going, I think Umar is gonna be able to take this one, and I think he's gonna be the next champion. I think he'll probably fight, who would he fight next? I don't know, but that whole division is a little weird just because Merab just beat Sean O'Malley and then was wanting to give Sean a rematch. Sean was injured going into that fight, got surgery, and he's coming back. He wants a title shot next. Honestly, the UFC might actually do that, but I would like to see Sean O'Malley fight Peter Yan, especially Peter Yan coming back from last year's ACL tear to having 2 wins in a row, and one of them being against Davison fucking Figueiredo, who was on like a 3-fight win streak in the bantamweight division. So I would like to see that. I would also like to see Corey Sandhagen versus Sean O'Malley. There's a lot of fun fights, but a lot of them the UFC might want to have while there's a belt on the line, if you know what I mean. As far as because Sean O'Malley is a money fight, and Sean O'Malley versus Umar is a big fight. So I think they will do that one next. I don't know if Merab will get an immediate rematch or anything like that. But yeah, that's kind of the way I see this one going, and that's the storyline for that one. Now, we get into the third fight on the main card. Jiri Prochazka versus Jamahal Hill. Jamahal Hill's had a frustrating run. He's had a very frustrating run. He comes off the most dominant performance ever in a title fight, I think, against Glover Teixeira. Yeah, he took damage, but dominant, I mean, like, he had multiple 10-8 rounds. I think he even had a 10-7 round in there, I'm not sure. But he destroyed Glover Teixeira, and it gave him all the hype that he deserved, because a lot of people were counting him out in that fight. And he goes into his first title defense against Jiri Prochazka, and he gets injured. He tears his fucking Achilles playing basketball, and that's a frustrating thing. He comes back probably a little too early. Matter of fact, a lot of people were saying it was too early for him to come back from that Achilles injury to fight Alex Pereira. Obviously, he wants his belt back. Obviously, he probably feels good enough to do it. And then he has another weird situation to where there's a cup kick. The ref, Herb Dean, steps in. Pereira waves him off. Jamahal Hill, while looking at the referee, Pereira takes a step towards him. You know, there's a lot of controversy there. Yes, he got knocked out. Yes, defend yourself at all times. But you can see why he would be angry. And then he looks to fight Khalil Roundtree, and Roundtree pulls out, and he's looking to fight Carlos Ulberg. And then he pulls out because his knee is still fucked up from the way he fell in the Alex Pereira knockout. Which, actually, that knee bursitis came from the Achilles injury and him having to compensate. If you want more intel on that, you can check out my podcast where I interviewed Terrence McKinney. We talked about that a little bit for sure, and you know, they're the Blunt brothers and everything, so yeah, that was an interesting conversation. But like I said, it's been a very frustrating run, and finally, I'm assuming he's very healthy going into this Jiri Prochazka fight. Jiri is coming off of 3 wars. I mean, he got knocked out by Alex Pereira, which was maybe early stoppage, okay. He had a war with Alexander Rakic where he got rocked multiple times, fought through it, but then he had a quick turnaround after that war and got knocked out by Alex Pereira, honestly twice in one fight. That's a lot of damage, not to mention his style receives a lot of damage a lot of times. So we have this is the situation that we have. However, this is both of them having a full camp for this fight. Of course, Jamahal Hill had that run-in with Alex Pereira, which I wasn't a big fan of, because you're gonna run up on Alex Pereira and talk about how he's been talking over Twitter, and then he throws you gloves and you don't step in there. I understand not stepping in there, you have a fight, right? But why walk up then? You might as well just keep it cordial and say don't talk shit, pretty much, right? But yeah, that's as far as who I think wins that fight. Honestly, early predictions, I'm giving Jamahal Hill the favor in that one. I think Yuri's been taking a lot of damage. I don't know how much he's gonna change from his style. I think he's very confident in that hands down switch stance style and pressure forward style. I just think hands down switching stances and pressuring forward, it's not a good combination, especially when you don't get your head off the center line too much, right? And going against someone who's as accurate as Jamahal Hill, I think Jamahal Hill fights a little bit ugly and a little bit like a street nigga, but I think that he's also very good and he knows what the fuck he's doing. There's always a method behind his madness, for sure, 100%, and that's why he was a world champion. Great fight though, amazing fight, amazing card. But before that, we have Beneil Dariush versus Renato Moicano. Money Moicano. I can't afford to lose Moicano. I mean, this dude's on a tear. I think, what, 5-5 win streak over guys like Jalen Turner. He just dominated, and I mean dominated BSD, destroyed him in every facet, and he had a fucked up rib, I'm pretty sure, in that one, or collarbone or some shit like that. He beat up Drew Dober easily. He submitted Brad Riddell, and that was all before losing or after losing to RDA in a close fight on short notice, right? And then before that, he fucking submitted Alexander Hernandez, I mean, and Jai Herbert as well. I mean, this dude has been on an absolute tear. What's that, 7-1 in his last 8? Or maybe even 8-1 in his last 9? The dude, Renato Moicano, is on a real title run, and I think all that momentum leading into this fight against Beneil Dariush, who's had 2 pretty brutal losses to Charles Oliveira and to Arman Tsarukyan, and then he's had a bunch of time off. I mean, he didn't even fight in 2024. Now, the time off is probably good for his brain, but Beneil being the slow starter that he is, and if you clip him early, he can get him up out of there. I think that's, you don't really want to have that much time off. So I'm gonna be choosing Renato Moicano, but I've always been high on Beneil. The ground game they're pretty equal. I think Beneil maybe has a better ground game, but we'll just have to find out. They're both grapplers for sure. However, in the striking department, I think Moicano, he's more pinpoint, more Muay Thai based. But Beneil Dariush likes the boxing. He's willing to come forward and bang. I think his chin is back probably after taking a year off. And yeah, that's an interesting one. And then we have the first fight on the main card between Kevin Holland and someone that you guys might not know a lot about, but I know a lot about because I cover one championship as well. Reinier de Ridder. Reinier de Ridder just came off that Gerald Meerschaert win. He's happy to be away from one championship because I guess there's some shady shit going on with one championship right now. Just not giving many people fights and trying to underpay fighters a bit and things like that. Don't really want to get into that too much, but he's coming off that Gerald Meerschaert win where he fucking submitted Gerald Meerschaert, and that's a big fucking deal. Reinier de Ridder, when he's on the ground, is an animal. The problem is getting it to the ground. He doesn't have the best wrestling, so he will pull guard, he will clinch up, and he has some good clinch trips for sure, and that's good. But going against a guy who's another black belt like Kevin Holland can hold his own on the ground. I mean, we've never really seen him get submitted other than when he fought Khamzat Chimaev, and Khamzat does that to everybody, bro. And Renier's not that type of wrestler. Of course, he has great grappling, but it's gonna be a struggle to get him down. I think maybe, yes, he does have the grappling advantage, but when people are both high level in grappling, it takes more than 5 minutes to really set up a submission, even if you have strikes. So I think that the grappling is kind of gonna cancel each other out just a little bit. I think Reinier will be able to add up on some control time, but I think on the feet, dude, it's not even a contest. I think Kevin Holland will pick him apart. I'll be very surprised if Reinier can get through this one and win. Kevin Holland did have that rib pop out in the Dolidze fight. I hope he's fucking healed from that. Kevin Holland will take a fight no matter if he's hurt or not, so he's a savage. But I think a healthy Kevin Holland against Reinier de Ridder, I see Kevin Holland piecing him up. I see maybe it goes to the ground, maybe Kevin Holland gets up, maybe he doesn't, maybe it goes to the next round, but I think 1 to 2 rounds I can see a Kevin Holland knockout. Guys, that's the storyline for UFC 311. Hopefully you enjoy this series. Hopefully you guys don't hate me for being gone as long as I was, but I love making content for you guys. I'm just super focused for this fight, so thank you guys for tuning in to the UFC 311 preview and storyline video, and as always, y'all stay safe, stay blessed. Don't forget to like, comment,